And welcome to Hannity, and we're coming to you live from the MGM Grand. We're in beautiful Las Vegas. We're in less than 24 hours. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they will clash in the third and final presidential debate. Now, you can see it right here on the Fox News channel. You don't want to miss it. Now, tonight, WikiLeaks has been temporarily shut down after releasing a new round of emails that could do major damage to the Clinton campaign. We'll have all the details tonight, and in just a few minutes, we'll get reaction from Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway and Newt Gingrich. But first, after exposing what appeared to be a Democratic plot to incite a lot of violence at Donald Trump's rallies, James O'Keefe's Project Veritas is out with a brand new undercover video tonight that is even more disturbing. Now, this new tape seems to show Democratic operatives discussing ways that they could commit voter fraud on a massive scale. Now, Fox News Channel, as we told you last night, has not independently verified the content, but what we see is shocking. Watch this.
It's a very easy thing for Republicans to say, well, they're busting people in. Well, you know what? We've been busting people in for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it. So, I mean, I grew up with that idea. You know, they used to bus people out to Iowa. If we needed people out there, we used to bus people out to Iowa.
The plan that was discussed was how to bring people from one state into another state to vote illegally.
They could invalidate. Well, okay, let's just say, in theory, if a major investigation came up of major vote fraud that way, how would they prove it and who would they charge? Are they going to charge each individual? Oh, sorry. Are they going to charge each individual with voter fraud?
See, that's
or are they going to go after the facilitator for conspiracy, which they could prove? And it's one thing if all these people drive up in their personal cars. There's a bus involved. That changes the dynamic. So it's the legality.
Well, yeah.
Because you can prove conspiracy if there's a bus.
Yeah.
If there are cars, it's much harder to prove.
And there's enough money.
If there's enough money, then you have people drive their POV.
Absolutely.
Or you have them drive rental.
Yeah, with Wisconsin license plates.
Absolutely. Well, you can't have them with Wisconsin license plates because rentals here, most of them don't have Wisconsin license plates. But there's these things called used car auctions. Used car auction. The titles belong to some unknown company. They're company cars.
And you know, these are multiple employers. These are not all one employer.
Yeah. Use shell companies.
Yeah.
Cars come from one company, the paychecks come from another. There's no bus involved, so you can't prove that it's en masse.
There you go.
So it doesn't tip people off.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
Our journalist helped brainstorm with Fovel on how to come up with addresses for their phony voters.
Now, if we just have the canvassers logging the homes, they don't even have to know why they're doing it.
Put a mark on it
and say this address. You know, we have moved, but moved could mean someone else moved in.
You take that data and you flip it out and you give it to people and you have people know about it. That's brilliant. I love it.
So yeah, and you know, it sort of depends upon how much the canvassers don't have to know why they just need to be told to do. Yeah.
In fact, you don't want them to know. Honestly, the ripest environment to do it in, within striking distance. Michigan, Indiana. Least restrictive donation caps and campaign finance laws and investigation and any investigative arms and any of that. Like, they have weakened it so bad in these three states. You could mother in front of the governor and not go to jail. If you had enough money to go like this.
Now, we've reached out to the people and the groups that are featured in these videos, as well as the DNC and the Clinton campaign, all for comment. Now, Scott Fovel told us, quote, "I will not be making further comment. Legitimate news organizations should not be giving them airtime." Why not hear them in their own words? Now, the DNC, they also released a statement earlier today responding to the first video on violence being incited by these groups at Trump rallies by attacking James O'Keefe's credibility and denying that what's shown on the tape actually occurred. And Robert Creamer from Democracy Partners, in a statement, he said he would be, quote, stepping back from his campaign commitment, saying he did not want his presence to be a distraction. He also added, quote, we regret the unprofessionalism and careless hypothetical conversations that were captured on hidden cameras of a temporary regional contractor from our firm. And he is no longer working with us. Now, while none of the schemes described in the conversations ever took place, these conversations do not at all reflect the values of Democracy Partners. And Cesar Vargas, in a Facebook post, he called it a conspiracy video. Here now with reaction, Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. You know, I think the thing that we've got to focus on, and this was on the tape yesterday, is that the money, follow the money, always important, because the campaign, Hillary's campaign, pays the DNC. The DNC pays Democracy Partners. Democracy Partners pays the Foval Group, and they go out, incite violence, lie to the American public on a grand scale, creating a false narrative that Donald Trump supporters and Donald Trump are violent. They got away with it with 3 weeks to go in the campaign. And on top of it, today we learned what? There is widespread planning and scheming for voter fraud. What's your reaction to all this?
Well, once again, Donald Trump was ahead of his time, Sean. He's been talking about this for the last couple of days. People have been criticizing him. He has no evidence. And here we see it goes right to the top. And I know Hillary Clinton's in hiding for 5 days or so with 22 or so days to go, but it would be nice if she put out a very strong statement condemning these acts, condemning this type of behavior. Talk about a different kind of pay to play. This all tells us one thing, whether you look at WikiLeaks, the FOIA request, whether you look at what's happening with Project Veritas, it's that they just can't win fairly and squarely. Can't you just go out there and tell America, this is my vision on healthcare, ISIS, the economy, growth, immigration, corruption? She can't do that. Her entire campaign is about Donald Trump. And then they run into problems like this because they're actually paying people to incite violence. Do you remember that Donald Trump had to cancel a rally in March?
And they're bragging that they did it.
They're bragging about it. And now
but that was a that people's lives were in danger that night. I was on the air.
But they're interfering with democracy. And we know there are dead people registered to vote. We know there are dead people still voting. I mean, when Donald Trump says this, he mainly means what's happened in the past. And he also means that we just saw from these journalist contributions this week, 96% of the donations from working journalists went to Hillary Clinton, 4% went to him.
What a shock.
Numbers don't lie, 27-1. We know that when his accusers came forward, and he's completely denied, he said they're all fabrications and lies. His wife Melania last night on a different network said she believes her husband, they're all fabrications and lies. What happened? 56 seconds out of the major network broadcasts, ABC, NBC, and CBS, less than 1 minute was committed to that. 23 minutes was committed to his accusers. 56 seconds, less than a minute, to this WikiLeaks.
And
that means 23 million people heard 23 minutes worth of that.
Because they are actually implicating the Hillary Clinton campaign
and the DNC.
And they are saying that they've created for them, quote, plausible deniability, a, quote, double bind between the actual campaign and the actual DNC. So they have implicated Hillary's campaign and the DNC, and we've got a flow of money, and now we have a check that actually went to one of the,
That's right. And I want to remind all the viewers, Sean, I'm sure they know this, but because I work very closely with Chairman Reince Priebus in the RNC and his team on our campaign, the coordination, the joint, what you're able to do is pretty significant. It's helped us a great deal. So the idea that DNC is working apart from the Clinton campaign is just a fiction. That's not true. Everybody's working together. We also know from WikiLeaks that the DNC, the chair of the DNC was giving the question and answer to Hillary Clinton before one of her town halls. So there's a great deal
by the way, and they fed questions to MSNBC hosts that they would read verbatim.
And these working journalists said, hey, if you want to edit anything out of here, you know, from over the line.
Oh, that's Politico. That's the New York Times.
And so, you know, so excuse Donald Trump if he says, wow, I think there's some collusion going on here. Not everybody, and not most people, perhaps. But this is exactly, what does all this mean? All this means with 3 weeks to go, we have the freshest and I would say greatest body of evidence to date of Donald Trump's entire point about the rigged, corrupt system, about a Washington that doesn't work for anybody except money insiders.
Especially because there is collusion on another side, too, with the emails. We have now discovered that the State Department and the Justice Department and the Obama White House, wait a minute, they were colluding with the Clinton campaign in terms of giving them information early. Obama told the American people, he said to them straight up, I didn't know about this until I read it in the press. Meanwhile, he was emailing Hillary.
He was.
And then John Podesta suggested, well, maybe we shouldn't turn over those emails which are under subpoena. That's called obstruction of justice.
It is.
So you've got collusion on a very high level on all of these issues.
And for what purpose? All for political gain and putting everybody's security at risk, national security at risk. The other thing that's very disappointing in these emails is you find out more of what Hillary Clinton and her senior team thinks of all of us, thinks of the American people. If they're not irredeemable and deplorable, John Podesta said that he wished the San Bernardino shooter's name was
Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then the other thing she said, she didn't like to use the term, average American.
Average American. Yeah. She wasn't comfortable with it.
Wasn't comfortable
By the way, she's not comfortable with a lot of things because apparently after 30 years, she's still trying to find her voice. They said, what's her core? What issues will she run on?
I'm going to put up on the screen real quick, and I know you got to go. And we'll roll the WikiLeaks, and I'll get into this with Newt Gingrich in the next segment. But these are all the things that have been exposed. John Kerry apparently shut down Julian Assange, and they now cut off his internet access. I say free Julian in the 3 weeks we have. Here's my question as we roll this. Do you think the public can absorb everything with Project Veritas, with WikiLeaks, and fully process it to the point where they understand the deep level of corruption, collusion, and contempt that the Democrats are showing for the American people?
I have great faith in the wisdom of the people.
Do?
Yes, they can distill it.
I didn't mean it that way. I mean, do you think they can absorb it in 3 weeks?
Yes, I do think so, especially if Donald Trump mentions it tomorrow night in a very cogent fashion. The two I would pick out from your list there that really caught my eye today is the Clinton Foundation. Oh, it is. No, there are footnotes. The Clinton, more on the website. The Clinton Foundation was paying the men double the amount, and somebody got $346,000 to run a foundation. Wow, that's a lot of money. But double the women, the gender gap, the pay gap by gender at the Clinton Foundation approximated, frankly, the gender gap in pay at the State Department. The other one I wanted to point out to them is they put these VP nominee prospects in food groups, and if you look at the list, it's like the women, the non-politician, the, quote, white men.
The needy Latinos is another part of that.
I mean, it's really a disgrace. I was involved when Donald Trump was selecting his vice presidential running mate, and I assure you that that names were mentioned, human beings, the actual people were mentioned, not food groups based on their gender and their ethnicity and their race.
I wonder what I'm probably in, I don't know, probably they put Hannity in the dog food category over at the Clinton headquarters.
If you're on Hillary's list. You're on a different list for Hillary. Thank you.
Thank you, Kellyanne. All right, when we come back, more reaction to the undercover Project Veritas video. Former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, he'll be here next with reaction to that and much more as we continue live. We're on the Vegas Strip on the eve of this final presidential debate at the MGM Grand. Straight ahead.